love of liberty, in the fires of hope and prayer, with boundless faith in our destiny, we solemnly declare. Side by side we stand, islands of the blue Caribbean Sea, this our native land. We pledge our lives to thee. Here every creed and race find an equal place, and may God bless our nation. Here every creed and race find an equal place, and may God bless our nation.
Heavenly Father, we come before you at the start of this new day, giving thanks for life, for health, and the opportunity to serve through this station. We ask for your divine presence to guide us in all we do. Bless this broadcast, that it may be a source of inspiration, joy, and unity to all who tune in. Whether near or far, may our words uplift, our music heal, and our message bring light to those who need it most. We pray for our listeners wherever they may be. Grant them strength for the day ahead, peace in their hearts, and success in all they put their hands to. Cover those traveling with your protection, and those at home with your comfort and provision. Lord, may everything we do bring honor to you and be a blessing to others. Guide our steps, bless our efforts, and let this station be a vessel of positivity and hope. In your name we pray. Amen.
Your voice, your soundtrack, your station. New Era TT Net Radio.
Them caught in a system cold, chasing shadows that take their soul. But the rhythm of hope is strong. Feel the beat, it guide us along. Plant the seed of change in the ground, and reap the fruits of love from this song. I'm sure we can rise from the shadows as we shine. Through the pain and the sorrows, leave the darkness behind. For the youths and the future, let the healing begin. The rhythm of we island, let love pull us in. So come from the dusk till dawn, as we rise up every morn. We'll fly through the skies like plane, all people will rise again. Hand in hand is how we'll start. Everyone can play their part. Man, woman and child come in, let the cleansing begin.
Wake up, rise up. It's the Net Radio Breakfast Show, bringing you the energy, music and vibes to start your day right.
Well, a very special good morning to you, everybody, wherever you may be. Good to have you here. Remember, this is New Era TT Radio, the heartbeat of the Caribbean, as we take you above and beyond. What a beautiful day it is. It's a God-blessed day. I got to say much thanks to the Heavenly Father for bringing us together for another day, and everything that we do, dear God, let it be a blessing on to you. Trinidad and Tobago, good morning. Neighbors in the Caribbean, good morning. Friends who are streaming all around the globe, good day to you, and thank you very much for making us your choice. I'm yours truly, Sir Charles, Happy am I, together with my team on the inside.
As we rise up and
This is your Get Up and Go. We welcome everybody to the Breakfast Show.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah, 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 yeah. Wake up, it's a brand new dawn. The Breakfast Show got the vibes turned on. From Maracas Bay to the Savannah line. Let's start the day in Caribbean prime. Good vibes rolling through the air. The Breakfast Show, energy everywhere. We talk, we laugh, we make you think. Grab your doubles or your morning drink.
Good morning, good morning, good morning, and welcome to the Breakfast Show on this Wednesday morning. I'm time traveling already. Wednesday morning. Of course, wherever you are, good morning to our listeners in Trinidad and Tobago, up the Caribbean, and of course, all of you listening across the planet, wherever you may be. Welcome to the Breakfast Show this morning, and of course, we know you have choices in who you choose to listen to in the morning. And thanks for choosing us. Good morning to my co-hosts, Wendell and Sir Charles. Good morning, guys.
Good morning, Sir Charles. Good morning, Richard. Good morning, Trinidad and Tobago. And good morning, listeners and viewers all over the globe. As you are aware, we have a special program today. Our program is different today in that we're doing the second half of the program first and the first half of the program second. All right? So we're doing our guests first, and then we'll do our greetings and take our calls and from our listeners in the second hour, right? Because we have a very special guest today, and we want to bring him in very early so that we get a full hour with him, because we have loads of things to speak to him about. Our guest, of course, is the Commissioner of Police, Allister Guevarro. He is recently minted, not even 2 weeks yet. I think it's the 18th, if I'm not mistaken, the 18th of June. Mr. Guevarro was confirmed as police commissioner. So he'll be our guest in this first hour. So just expect that we'll do what we normally do this hour in the second hour. All right?
All right. So, as what one is already saying, is that we're going into our Let's Talk segment. So let's start our Let's Talk segment one time with the Commissioner of Police. Good morning, Commissioner of Police, Allister Guevarro. Thanks so much for joining us this morning.
Pleasant good morning, Mr. Raghubasing, Mr. Stephen, and Sir Charles, and a pleasant morning to your listening and viewing public.
Good
How are you all
morning.
this morning?
We are great. We are great. We are always great, especially when it comes to this program.
Well, I heard you say that you're doing it back to front this morning.
because we normally would have the guests in the second hour, and we would do, the normal stuff in the first hour. But
we interact a lot with our audience in the first hour. So, we say good morning to them. A lot of them are already in the stream.
Yes.
So we would go through some of their comments and stuff like that, and then actually open up the lines and speak with them.
Well, a pleasant good morning to your audience.
Yeah.
Commissioner, I don't know why it feels like deja vu. It seems like just the other day, we were having a commissioner of police on the show, and we were greeting him and asking him to tell us about himself, because we didn't know much about Commissioner Acting Junior Benjamin when we interviewed him about a month ago, if so much. And here we are interviewing our next commissioner, and well, you're part of history. I don't know if you know that, because in the year 2025, we have had 3 prime ministers and now 3 commissioners of police. So you're part of history in a way,
I hope it's a good part of history.
I would suspect. But who is Allister Guevarro? Because I'll tell you something, I've been around police for a long time, including Special Branch, and I've never seen or heard the name Allister Guevarro. And when we put it out there, when your name first came up, I said, well, maybe there's a good thing because this man's name came up and nobody saying anything about him. Nobody trying to scuttle his ascension to this thing. So that's a good thing. That's a good start. You understand? So tell us, who is Allister Guevarro and why? How have you risen to this glorious position of Commissioner of Police?
All right, just some brief history. In fact, yesterday I would have celebrated 29 years anniversary in the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service. I would have entered the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service on the 1st of July 1996. After training, would have been posted to the Southern Division where I worked at Princestown Police Station. Worked with a wonderful crew of officers there. Some of them are still in the TTPS, and they would have been the foundation building blocks of my career and how I view policing. I was fortunate to have worked with what we call the 5,000 and 6,000 police. So a police officer today, 21,000 and 22,000 police officers, hearing about a 6,000 police. They would say, where them fellas and them come from? Dinosaur age. But at the end of the day, they were the foundation of knowledge within the TTPS. They held different morals, different standards, different values. And those are the standards and values that were bestowed upon the officers whom they were fortunate to work with at that point in time. For a very early age, I would have taken a certain degree of pride in how I conducted investigations and policing and my approach to the community. And I think at that point in time, that is when I was talent spotted by the Special Branch. I would have spent only 6 months in uniform. I worked for a period of time alongside some very great detectives at Princestown. That is when I was talent spotted. I went to the Special Branch in 1998, and from there my career took off in a different trajectory. For the next 27 years or so, I would have been heavily involved in covert policing operations. So that's the reason why you probably never heard or seen me. I was operating in the background. The nice part about the public not knowing me, the unknown Allister Guevarro, is that had I been in the Special Branch for 27 years and everybody knew Allister Guevarro, that means Allister Guevarro was not doing his job properly as a branchman. How could you be a Special Branch covert operative and everybody knows your name? But rising through the ranks over the years, I would have begun to open up different avenues within the Special Branch. One of them being when the remit came for not only security intelligence, but rather criminal intelligence to become of the remits of the Special Branch, I would have been a person to answer the call and become one of the vanguards of that sphere of policing in Special Branch. During the years after that, let's take it about 2009, 2010, that would have been under Mr. Filbert, who was the Commissioner of Police. A series of operations started taking place in Trinidad and Tobago that possibly everyone knew about, but no one knew who was behind the operation. We would have discovered, most recently, if I go back, the meth lab that was discovered in San Fernando. That was an operation solely led by the Special Branch and myself. The discovery of ketamine, the $8 million worth of ketamine in Millennium Park in Trinity City, a couple of years prior, that was also the Special Branch. I can speak to you about these because they are public, they are in the court, and it is not something that is confidential anymore, but there are a myriad of investigations, cases before the court, some I cannot speak about, that I have been directly involved in. During my career, I have, I think, whilst in the Special Branch, I actually made more criminal cases than when I was outside of the Special Branch. I actually still have, in my estimation, about possibly 20-something to 30-something matters before the courts still. I would have been one of the pioneers of sometime in 2011 or 2012, when the U.S. State Department printed its TIP report, Trafficking in Persons report, and they downgraded Trinidad Tier 2 watch list. The now current Deputy Director of the Counter-Trafficking Unit, Ms. Dane Marie Marshall, myself and other officers were the first officers to receive training in human trafficking investigations, and thereafter it took off in a different light. Persons from different spheres of policing would have been engaged in that, and persons from the Special Branch, persons from the CID and Immigration and all the other units, and we went off into different directions, and we all did our part in bringing the country's standing back from Tier 2 watch list to Tier 2. And I'm proud to say, having recently had a meeting with Ms. Marshall and Mr. Miguel in this said office, they indicated to me that we are in a good standing still. And I want to give them praise for, keeping the flag flying and the standard very high. We would like to utilize the assistance of the public in giving us information. Human trafficking is a very, very, very important aspect of policing and how the public should view us, because it's basically slavery, modern day slavery, for exploitation of persons for either sexual or monetary gains. Other parts of my policing career, I was, how should I want to put this? I want to be very careful how I phrase this. There's a particular individual who, when I was selected to do the blackout investigation by the then Prime Minister, went around and made some public comments that why it is that they give Guevarro this investigation to do. He answers directly to the Prime Minister. It's like, okay, I cannot remember at that time having ever met the Honorable Prime Minister. Then he went on, he was working bodyguard for the Prime Minister for all these years, and he answered to this one. It's like, okay, I'm wondering if this individual actually knows who Allister Guevarro is. I never did any bodyguard or VIP protection work for any current or past president or prime minister. So then probably he didn't investigate properly. So I sought to correct that in the public sphere. Recently, I appeared on the Beyond the Tape, and I understand that that fallacy of his imagination is still being bandied about. Thus, I want to make it publicly clear again. Allister Guevarro was not involved in any personal security detail of any past or current prime minister. My hands are clean. You could investigate, you could ask, you could get the records from the special branch. I was involved in covert operations, surveillance, and some other stuff that the special branch does that people would not know about. All right? I know people would say the special branch is only about VIP, and I want to make it publicly clear today. VIP protection is only 5% of what the special branch does. Mm-hmm. The special branch is a unit designed as the vanguard to democracy. It is there for the purpose of ensuring that the democratically elected government is not removed from power by any means other than the lawful democratic process, which is voting. So as a result of that, several arms and subunits form the special branch in order to ensure that that occurs.
Yeah. Well, Commissioner, one of the main challenges that Trinidad and Tobago had faced at one point in time was kidnapping for ransom. And I remember that, like if it was yesterday, we had that challenge. It had dissipated to almost zero, and then we would have started to see a bit of that coming up again. What role would the special branch have played, and maybe you specifically, in terms of getting rid of that scourge that we faced at one point in time?
I want to be careful answering this question because I know I'll be held to account for my words. The very last public kidnapping that took place, which was the Source Doubles young lady, the special branch played a critical role in that investigation because it was a unit within the special branch, led by myself, a covert tactical unit that would have gone into the bushes of Maracas and Joseph to try and rescue the young lady. Those officers, I would like to herald them, and I can call the name of the unit, the multi-optional police section. They would have gone into the bushes and spent the better part of 3 days in an attempt to rescue the young lady. But because of the terrain and the multitude of camps in the area, we were unable to do so before the young lady was released. However, unfortunately for them, after they released the young lady and they were returning to the bushes, they would have encountered the officers on their way in. And foolishly, they decided to engage the officers. And we all know the outcome of that.
Yes. Yes. Okay. Well,
Well, if I know, Commissioner, I mean, first of all, of course, I want to congratulate you for having 29 years of service. 29 years in any institution is, quite a lot. And I mean, it means you're well seasoned in that institution. And I know, of course, you've given a bit of your history and we welcome that. But I wanted to get into the specifics of Trinidad and Tobago and its space. Of course, crime was the number one, what was the number one issue and has been the number one issue for several elections with regard to how citizens feel, how safe they feel on the streets of Trinidad and Tobago, which is no secret. As now sitting in the position where you answer to all of this, because it comes back to the commissioner, what plans do you have specifically in terms of doing things differently? And well, I'm supposing that you're going to do things differently in terms of making some impact that raises the confidence of Trinidad and Tobago citizens in the TTPS and raises the level of safety that we all feel being citizens and residents of Trinidad and Tobago. What makes you different?
So, Mr. Raghubar Singh, that is a serious mouthful. You make me have to take notes for the to answer you. So, firstly, you said 29 years service. You make me sound like an old man. You make me feel like I'm ready to retire. Don't do me that.
Are you?
No. You have 11 years to endure me.
Oh, okay. Look at that.
So, buckle in for the ride. Okay? You talk about being well seasoned. I appreciate the fact that you recognize that well seasoned, and you're speaking about crime and doing things differently. Let us not reinvent the wheel. Let us, as well, there's a saying, insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result. So if we're accustomed doing the same thing in fighting crime, and we are seeing that the result is no different, that means there are a bunch of madmen outside here. So I would want to approach this, and as you said, what my strategy and my vision for the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service is. What my strategy and vision is more so for Trinidad and Tobago. And the vision of the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service is to ensure that we make Trinidad and Tobago safer, all spaces. There's a 3-level pronged approach that I would like to put forward as my overarching vision. And from there, all the different sub-strategies would come into play. I don't want to give out to you what it is that I have plans on doing, because that would be disingenuous to my staff members as well as the public. Because if the criminals know what the police is going to do, they would already start to plan. But what I will say, visibility, technology, and community support. Those are my 3 pillars, if you may want to call them, for changing the narrative of
Commissioner,
how the police does business.
Yeah, I'm glad what you just said, because in terms of giving out the information, because the criminals may get that information. Because I honestly believe, and I'm sure a lot of people share this view, that unless you fix the TTPS first, there's a good chance that you can't fix this society in terms of what the people expect coming from the TTPS. The police have been challenged over many years with rogue police officers and police officers being caught or brought before the court for all manner of reasons. How do you intend to treat with this to give the people, the public, the confidence that this commissioner will take a hard stance against errant police officers?
So, I like the fact that you would have answered your own question. You said that over the years, the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service has been faced or been plagued with errant police officers, corrupt elements who have been placed before the courts. Who placed them before the court? We did that ourselves. We investigated our own. We held ourselves to be accountable to the public. And thus, we were able to place our own before the court. Which other organization in Trinidad and Tobago does that? I'm posing a question to you. You tell me, which organization in Trinidad and Tobago does that?
I am agreeing with you on that we have
Wonderful.
seen, because the evidence is there that police officers have been brought before the court, but that hasn't decreased the amount of issues that the TTPS themselves will have internally.
Right. And I would fully agree with you that, again, as I said, we can't expect to continue doing the same thing over and over and expect a different result. Thus, that is one of the reasons accountability and transparency are two of the vanguards that I have posited to go forward with each and every action that I have taken thus far. So, within the first 10 days of me taking office, I think you would have seen me very public and accessible to the media and accessible to the public. We would have rolled out a program at the Piaco International Airport, where persons are now seeing tactical police officers on the ground with dogs. Some may say, well, that is not a new idea. But prior to this, it was basically reactive on whenever something happens, the police would respond, and you would see a couple of days, and then that treatment would peter out. What we see now is a 24-hour presence on the ground where the tactical officers serve as both a response to anything that should occur at the airport and environs, as well as a deterrent effect. We see the sniffer dogs being placed there, and persons have a problem with, while they have Brownie out in the cold here this time of the morning, but Brownie have a purpose. Brownie is trained. Brownie is there to sniff out the people who come in with narcotics and firearms into the airport, into that safe space. That is our international aviation gateway. When things happen there, we get a bad reputation throughout the world, not only in Trinidad. It's an international space. So one of the plans was to put that in place, and it was done. So I wanted to let the public know that I may not be coming and telling you all what it is that I am going to do, but you all are seeing what is going on in front of you. And I want to ask them to be patient as we continue to roll out. I would have went on the Beyond the Tape program, and I made a promise to everyone to treat with the backlog of firearm issues. We have 55,000 files. And I took the decisive step to start dealing with that. As of yesterday, the first of the batches of files that I sent for would have arrived at my desk. And I started dealing with that immediately. All right. So the different strategies are being rolled out. You may not see it. I may not tell you about it, but there are many strategies behind the scenes that are working as we speak. And in fact, without saying much, as soon as I finish this program, I'm leaving here and I'm going on an operation. So I'm just letting you know that strategies are working behind the scenes.
So I'm assuming then that you will be a more hands-on commissioner in terms of going out on operations and so on with your officers, as opposed to someone who is dealing with it from a desk position.
I have always been hands-on. Every single operation that I have led, I've led it from the front. First in the door, first in the vehicle, first to be at the door when we knock and you hear, "Good day, police." Most of the times it will be my voice.
You talk about, All right, sorry, so Charles, you go ahead.
Yeah, just to add to what Wendell was asking, really, and through with the rogue elements, and I understand what the commissioner said, and I appreciate the fact that yes, we have seen that you all really prosecute your own when they do wrong. I think what we were trying to get at, or in that in a situation like that, is if we continue just to wait until somebody does wrong, then to try to purchase service with so many people going before the courts, is there anything to go inside and actually look for those individuals rather than wait for them to make mistakes to get them out of the service?
And that's one of the reasons why we are trying to partner with the public so that we could get that information. I cannot be presumptive and go into someone's head to know if they are going to do wrong. And the only way we will know if they do wrong is when the public tell us that they do wrong. I wouldn't know if a police officer accepts a bribe or demands a bribe on the outside unless the victim of that comes forward. So I'm urging persons with information about errant police officers, you bring it forward, come to me with it. We have different avenues you could report it. We have the Professional Standards Bureau, we have the Police Complaints Authority, we have the Complaints Department within the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service. So we actually welcome persons to report us.
Are you confident that in reporting, in the public going out and report, that something will be done about it? Because you know that is also a concern with people making reports, and next thing you know, someone is already, the police already give the information that, hey, this person made a report on you. How is that to be fixed in terms of giving the public the confidence to do that?
Well, we can only say in going forward, let us look and see, and let us not be presumptive that what took place in the past will continue to do so in the future.
Right.
That when someone makes a report and they realize that the police has taken action, decisive action, and police officers themselves are taken before the court, then I hope that would assist in rebuilding that level of trust, that level of integrity that the police service has, the accountability and the transparency.
Yeah. You talk about community support being one of your three branches, broad branches. Is that going to be, I don't want to say a reintroduction because they have always had community police officers.
Yes.
But is it going to be an expansion of that?
So we have always had community policing, as you said. Another first, my batch of 1996 were the first officers to be trained as community policing officers in the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service. What that heralded was, it is not merely having a community police section. It is supposed to be a mindset of all police officers. So we train them in community policing so that when they pass out and graduate from the academy, they already have the mindset of, I am a community police officer. They can engage with members of the community. And it's merely not putting one section aside as a community police section, but having everyone trained with the mindset of, I am a community officer. And that's how we will begin to see change.
I wanted to also touch on operational resources, because you often hear sometimes people talk about, oh, you call and they say they don't have a car. You hear it less, but you still hear it. And via the media, of course, I'm talking about in reports of citizens who saying, that they have, they called a police station and they said they couldn't come right away, or they took very long to respond. Or sometimes people say, we've had this problem for X, Y, and Z, and we've made several reports and police did not respond. And then, of course, a homicide takes place and then the police respond. Is it yes or no that the police has enough operational resources? Because that's always kind of in the ether, you're never sure. So from a specific point of view, do you have enough operational resources, or is it that you require more to do your job, which you're liaising with your line minister for?
The TTPS has resources. Saying that it is adequate resources would be incorrect. because crime is an ever-evolving paradigm. And technology seems to be the new trust in crime prevention. We have predictive policing, and we have other aspects of policing that are heavily dependent on technology. Technological investment in the TTPS at this time would allow us, for the purpose of being able to integrate particular areas of policing towards better utilizing the current resources that we have in a more efficient manner. So we may have resources available, and as you know, the majority of, and as you mentioned, the majority of resources that the public would cry out for is the presence of vehicles. Vehicles, we don't have a finite amount of vehicles in terms of, we have 1,000 or 1,200 vehicles that must be on the road. We have to account for breakdown, we have to account for repairs, we have to account for different things that take place. And that vehicle, once in the hands of police, and we are utilizing it on a 24-hour basis, it would tend to go down a lot faster than your vehicle that you have at home. So people may say, we have 1,000 vehicles in our scrapyard or a garage or a graveyard somewhere because look at what the police did. These vehicles are being tasked 24 hours a day. The equipment and resources that the TTPS have are also tasked 24 hours a day. So there may be need to always have a replacing of resources. Now we know that at this time, the financial situation in our country may not be of the best. We would want to make more efficient use of the resources that we do have. And in so doing, we'll be able to have a better ROI, a return on the investment that was placed in the TTPS.
Commissioner, recently you took a decision to allow officers, if I'm not mistaken, off-duty officers to take their firearms home, right? How is that to improve the situation in terms of a more secure neighborhood or officer? And also, would a decision also be made for officers to use their car, to take their cars at home also too? Because I know that in some states that is done because it shows a presence of a police vehicle in a neighborhood in terms of where that officer will work on. So how is that to benefit our situation?
All right, so let's take the second part of the question first. Cars. I didn't hear what you said if I took that decision, but I never
if you are going to also take that decision.
So at this time, we don't have the adequate amount of resources to allow people to take police vehicles at home. I would love that to be every police officer, 7,884 of us, each have a vehicle at home. Then I would have no need to even have police stations open. I just have police outside there with vehicles. And that would be nice. It will be faster response to the members of the public and all of that. But that is not the situation that exists. With regards to the weapons, the other side of that coin is that I also took a decision on that day that I will be treating with the members of the public who have applied for firearms. So by examining, I'm not saying granting, I'm saying examining those applications that are on my desk and those that merit being granted are granted firearm users licenses. We now have persons within the public space who are armed. They can now defend themselves. What type of leader would I be if I am allowing members of the public to be able to defend themselves and my own officers are left defenseless? That would be a demotivating and demoralizing scenario. So I must also take my officers' well-being and welfare into context. So the decision to give my officers what I would term a means of being able to protect themselves. Because I have been there, you know. I have looked down the barrel of a gun. Persons have shot at me. It's in public record. And I have shot back at persons. So at the end of the day, we must be able to show our officers that we care about them enough to allow them a fighting chance if placed in a situation of that nature.
What is your position then on the stand your ground legislation that the government is proposing?
We already have an avenue of stand your ground. It's called self-defense. If someone comes into your house, you are able to stand your ground already, because you can now defend yourself, because this person is in your house for the purpose of doing you and your family harm. Mm-hmm. And the idea behind it, what are you going to stand your ground with at present? A bull pistol, a baton, a tree canal. These men coming into your home ain't coming with a tree canal or a bull pistol. They come in armed. So in order for you to defend yourself in your home, that's where the firearm comes in. With regards to the stand your ground legislation, the police service, as I said before, is a law enforcement agency, law enforcement body. We have no part in the creation of law or policy. We are there to enforce the law. If the government was to pass the stand your ground legislation in the morning, the police service stands ready to enforce that stand your ground legislation.
All right. Another issue that, of course, is a big bugbear for a lot of people are, in fact, these cold cases. These cases where police officers have may allege to have infringed the law with shootings and so on. One in particular that someone had put in the chat earlier on was that shooting in Tobago of the officer, of the young man who was already detained, I think, in handcuffs and was shot. What is the position on those matters? There was another one downtown Independence Square, since the days of Commissioner McDonald Jacobs, where 3 young men were shot in a car, and it was said that CCTV cameras saw the incident. We've heard nothing about these matters. Several matters on the files of the police service that we have heard nothing about. What will be your position on those matters?
What I like about that question is that you are asking me questions that you are already giving the answer for, but you didn't know that you're already giving the answer for it. Those matters are under, as you said, investigation. And as a result, I cannot pronounce on it. And I often tell persons, when you ask a question, there are 3 different things that can happen. It's a question that the police or myself can answer, and you'll get an answer immediately. 2, that we can't answer, and we need to go and get information and bring it back to you so that you would understand that, yes, you asked the question at that time and I can't answer, but I went and got that information for you. And 3, which your question just fell into that category, the questions that I won't be able to answer because they are infringing on an open investigation or a matter of national security.
Well, I hear you, Commissioner, on that point, but, and there's a big but in the room, cold cases, and which is what Wendell phrased it, it's not enough, in my opinion, and that's why I think the question would have cropped up, to just say generically they're all under investigation, because some of these cases are years old, and because there is a confidence issue with regard to the TTPS and how citizens perceive them, when you say under investigation and it's 3 and 4 years old, people have no confidence that under investigation means active investigation. It may simply mean that the file is still open, but nobody's actively dealing with it. They've moved on, because crime is not static. It moves, and there are always things happening. So I don't know if that position of saying it's under investigation, even for old cases, is enough. That's what I'm saying.
All right. So you did not allow me to finish answer. So as I got to the
okay.
third, yeah.
Well, let me hear you. Let me hear you answer.
When I got to the third point of saying that there are some that I will not be able to answer, I was going to come back and ask the gentleman who would have asked the question, if there is a specific investigation that he has some concerns about, it may fall into category number 2, where I shall go, get the information, and return to you with an answer. I was not seated in the chair when those investigations were going on. And in my last 10 days, I have not seen any of them come before me. So thus, I can only answer when I go and get the answer from elsewhere and come back to you.
Well, you basically gave the answer there. In other words, because I knew, or at least the public knows, that you were not the commissioner at the point in time these incidents happened. What would be your position in it in terms of disseminating the information to the public?
So those, you call them cold cases, which would want to presuppose that in terms of policing, a cold case is a matter with some vintage of years. But you spoke about some with a little more recency.
Yes.
So I think the better terminology you're speaking about, not basically cold cases, but police-involved shootings.
Okay.
Right. So let's use that terminology.
Right.
In terms of police-involved shootings, I am a person who likes transparency and accountability. And we must allow the investigative process to occur. There are some of these matters that are at a stage where I am sure the DPP, as well as the PCA, are also examining different aspects of the investigation. And that's why I love policing so much. It is not a case of we are just police officers doing an investigation and is them a batch or is somebody who I know so I could adopt a certain principle in terms of, we could close that off. That does not occur in the TTPS. That is a fallacy of someone's imagination. We are held accountable by higher authority. The DPP has oversight of all of these matters that are brought before him for advice. We have the Police Complaints Authority standing as vanguards over us, looking at how we conduct these investigations. And likewise, there are investigations that are done in a parallel manner. So the PCA does an investigation here, and the TTPS does an investigation here. And both of them have the remit to go before the DPP to have a pronouncement done. So despite you may not be seeing traction in the public, and I know Mr. Raghubar Singh is going to say it goes back down to the third point of not wanting to answer. But by me making a pronouncement on any particular investigation, it would place into the public sphere a certain bias that can actually affect the outcome of the investigation. When someone can now go and say, the Commissioner of Police was on a morning show program and he say X, Y, Z, we don't want that. And hence the reason why most of my predecessors would have adopted this matter is under investigation. But there may be particular matters that are at a particular stage of investigation that we can update the public on. And that would fall into category number 2. That I would have to go get that information and come back to you.
Yeah. Well, you've been in the police service for 29 years, Commissioner Guevarro.
Yes,
the unit that is tasked with investigating police officers is in fact the Professional Standards Bureau, right? One of the units. Right? Are you satisfied with the performance of this Professional Standards Bureau insofar as what you have witnessed over the years and since becoming commissioner?
One of my strategic vision plans for the TTPS has directly to do with that Professional Standards Bureau. And as I mentioned before, there are certain things I may not want to come into the public and throw out because, one, I haven't discussed it with my senior staff and executive as yet, and two, it would be disingenuous to throw that out into the public so that everybody would be aware of what are the plans. But definitely, the Professional Standards Bureau and the Complaints Division are two separate units that treat with different spheres of discipline and police misconduct. One is the criminal side, which is the Professional Standards Bureau, and the complaints treats with the discipline side, which is the internal discipline. In first world countries, or what we call developed countries, we see units where they call internal affairs. And they treat with all internal matters regarding whether discipline or the criminal conduct of officers. So look out in the future, you may see something like that coming out.
Commissioner, in terms of your tenure as as a police officer, which expands over 29 years, and of course the history of the TTPS, are there any officers that stood out to you in terms of your, as a young police officer, or even as you got to this post, that you admire and you think were really a great asset to the TTPS, and who you considered like a mentor?
In my inauguration day ceremony, I would have mentioned some persons whom I regarded as gurus. And they may not always be known to you, the members of the public, because they may not even be persons who held substantive ranks. The first person who took a chance on me in the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service was my first sergeant, a woman police sergeant by the name of Carol Colimo. She went on to rise to the ranks. I think she retired as a superintendent. She is a Tobagonian, but she was living in Trinidad. And she took a chance on me at basically 6 months out of the police training, barracks in those days, now it's academy. She took me out of police uniform and placed me in plain clothes to do specific functions. And I felt, that person took a chance, because they were much more, as Richard was saying, seasoned officers out there who could have been given that opportunity, and she took one with me. Over the years, I have worked with several persons who stood out in my own personal career as, I call them, gurus, persons whom I hold in high esteem, and they would have helped lay the building blocks of what I am in terms of integrity, in terms of accountability, in terms of my my performance as an officer, and all of that. Then there are those whom the public would be well aware of. Now, I called the name in the past, in the inauguration ceremony, of Randolph Burrows and Cecil Carrington. And the Fifth Estate, the social media and other persons immediately took to their keyboard warrior status. Why would he mention? You see, I finally get Richard to smile.
No, well, we know the story,
The keyboard warriors took to the floor. Why are you mentioning Burrows? Burrows this, Burrows that, Burrows this. The thing about it is, his name appeared in a particular report at the time. But prior to that, he was considered Trinidad and Tobago's finest crime fighter. He would have taken the leadership of the TTPS and went about in a particular time. And I must always say, history gets what, well, not history, the environment and society, when examined by history, got what it deserves at that time. And at that time, we had particular crimes in the space. We had the Black Power movement in the space. So at that time, Mr. Burrows would have ascended to leadership of the TTPS, and he took hard decisions, whatever they were at that time, because that was probably before I was born and even during my early formative years, to treat with what was occurring in the public space to keep the country safe at that time. It may be frowned upon now and after, but I don't think he was ever convicted for any of those offenses that they were mentioned in the Scott Drug report. So bear in mind that we are innocent until proven guilty. And if he was never convicted, then he is someone who can look at and say, yes, he was one of the members of the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service who made a difference at that time. We have Mr. Cecil Carrington, another person whom I mentioned. He had his particular ways that he dealt with crime, and those were things that I admired. Right? More recently, we have persons like former Assistant Commissioner of Police, Mr. Frederick. We have former Assistant Commissioner of Police, Mr. Movin Giuseppe. We have all these other officers who, throughout the years, I would have admired particular traits about them and would have sought to ingrain it in my own leadership style. So
we noticed you haven't called any former commissioners of police.
Mr. Burrows was a former commissioner of police?
No, and most recently, commissioners of police.
You see, I can start calling out a list. Mr. Filbert was a gentleman who, at that time, when he held the reins of the police service, there were particular things that he had to treat with, and he had to utilize what was given on to him to treat with those problems in society. So it would be disingenuous to make a comparison between Mr. Burroughs in the 70s, Mr. Philbert in the 2000s, and let's say Ms. Christopher and Mr. Benjamin in 2025. Mm-hmm. They didn't have to treat with social media and the keyboard warriors. They didn't have to treat with technology, phones. I remember the days of old, you had to go to a coin phone to make a phone call. Now, it's like Star Trek. You open your phone and you could actually see the person you're talking to. So you see the different age that technology has brought to the fore. So the TTPS must now keep abreast with what is technology. Yeah. Those previous commissioners didn't have to fight cybercrime. That is something we have to deal with now.
Commissioner, I would like to find out from you, now that you are and have been successful at becoming the police commissioner, is this the first time that you had applied for this job? And if not, if this is the first time, why now?
That's a good question.
This is not the first time I would apply for the job. I had applied for the job previously when Ms. Christopher would have been given the nod. That is the only other time I would have applied for the post of Commissioner of Police.
So were you shortlisted then also?
Yes, I was.
Okay. All right.
How important do you see? Sorry, this is a simple question. How important do you think discretion is for a police officer in exercising their duties?
Discretion. There are some aspects of policing that I believe discretion may be utilized, and there are some where it cannot be utilized because you will then be committing an offense yourself as a police officer. So by hearing a man, I recall leaving the Princestown police station one day, walking towards the maxi stand to get a maxi to go home, and one of the passengers in that maxi taxi that I was walking past ate a doubles and felt nothing better to do than to pelt the paper out the window in front of me. So I promptly took up the paper, went into the maxi and arrested him and took him back to the station. And that was my first use of discretion. Because after the begging and pleading, an officer, I wouldn't do it again, that gentleman went on to become one of the best informants I had at that time because I gave him a chance. And that is what I would say discretion brings to the table. But had that
was it a strategy?
Yes. Had that same gentleman committed a rape or a robbery, I don't think discretion would even be considered as an option at that time.
Yeah. I just wanted you to ask me, because I'm seeing a story trending on social media. I'm just asking, how do special branch officers get assigned to prime ministers? And let me contextualize it for a bit, because there is a trending story on social media that is saying that former Prime Minister Stuart Young's protection, or his protective detail, his security detail, sorry, has been pulled, and it was pulled last night, I think, but they were courteous enough to at least get him home, and then they exited. Now, I don't know if this is accurate. As I said, it's on social media, as you said, the keyboard warriors. So it's a story. I can't verify if it's accurate or not. But for the broader contextual view, is that a political decision, or is that a security detailed position emanate from your office, or does it emanate from a policy directive from the government?
This is a very thin line, because I do not want to reveal information into the public space about how treatments of security come about. The personal security detail of particular individuals within the public space emanates from various cabinet minutes and cabinet notes. So certain office holders are given security based on portfolios that they hold. And there are specific timelines where some of these security details expire. Then there are those who are granted security details by virtue of threat assessments. And the threat assessments must fall within a particular graded bracket in order for the individual to be given a personal security detail. Should, during the time of the security detail being implemented, information comes to the special branch or to the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service that the threat has either increased or decreased, and it falls above a certain category, then additional security treatments are instituted. If it falls below a particular category, then particular security treatments are removed.
But a follow-up question to what you're saying there, and I understand what you're saying very clearly. Is it that some positions have security detail point blank, that once you're in that position, you have a security detail?
That is true. So as I mentioned in the first category, there are certain cabinet notes and minutes that give particular office holders security. And then there are those who are given security up to a particular time period, where there is a sunset clause, if I may be permitted to use that, on certain security particulars. And then on the other side, you must have a security threat risk vulnerability assessment that has a particular grading to get a security and actually maintain that security.
What's the policy for former prime ministers then, Commissioner?
That is one of the questions that I won't be able to answer because it would impinge on particular...
Are you hedging, Commissioner?
No,
Are you hedging?
I'm not hedging at all. I don't want to put into the public space information that would place anyone at risk for any particular reason. So if I was to tell you a particular time, then you would understand, okay, there's a sunset clause to this, and there is certain things that can happen after the sunset clause. So I don't want to put certain things into the public space that ought not to be in the public space, and that should be kept.
Okay. Now, of course, there was a story also too about the condition of the trailer that was outside the residence of former Prime Minister Dr. Keith Rowley. Has that been fixed? Has that been corrected?
The police mobile unit?
Yes, the police mobile unit. Yes.
I gave instructions to have that removed.
Okay. So that problem has been fixed.
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. So, Commissioner, I mean,
And he still has a security detail, I'm assuming.
So Dr. Rowley still has his security. Is that the question, Richard?
It was more of a statement. I'm assuming that he still has his detail.
Yeah.
Remember that third option? Question that I won't answer?
Well, Commissioner, we can't go on like this for 11 years, you know. Just letting you know that from now, eh?
Not at all.
Because
but I'm worried that my words will be held in a particular way, and I will be able to account for my words. So I need to be very cautious because I realize that you all are very witty.
One of the things we can guarantee you is that this program remains in perpetuity. 200,000 years from now, you could go back on YouTube and you could get this program. That's one thing we guarantee you of. But tell me something, Commissioner. Why should people feel that you will be different to any other commissioner? We have only had one commissioner who came out of who didn't come up to the ranks of the police service, Gary Griffin, who for all intent and purposes out there in the public domain was a success, right? He had a successful period, right? Of course, he had challenges. Of course, he would have had to deal with COVID during that time, so there wasn't a preponderance of crime as what other commissioners would face. But why should people feel that Allister Guevarro, who has 11 years left in this service, so he's here for a long time, God willing, God gives him health and strength. Why should the public feel that you'll be different and make a turnaround in what's happening in Trinidad and Tobago?
I don't want the public to feel that I would make a difference. I want the public to feel the difference. Feel the difference in leadership. I want to be the change agent of the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service and lead from the front. So when we see within the period of my tenure certain actions that I would engage in, it will always be for the betterment of the public and to bring about the vision of the TTPS to make Trinidad and Tobago safe.
Are you willing to take some calls from our listeners, or you prefer not to?
So you see, this is the scenario here. I am now being informed that I have my next meeting. That's the reason why we agreed to the
true.
hour. True. So I'm now being informed that I have a person waiting to meet with me at the 7.
Somebody's watching you with a very serious face. Get off that program now.
I don't know why I know who it is, but but thank you so much, because there are so many other things that people wanted to ask about school children, how you treat them with school violence, because the Prime Minister had issued a statement on that. If you could give us a quick answer on that. School children, school violence.
So I would have made a pronouncement and it's become famous. I realized that I should have probably copyrighted it before. Train your children before we confine. So control your children or we will confine them. And the keyboard warriors took it literal and went to town. If it is that anyone out there in the public space were to send their children to school and get a phone call from the principal or from the hospital or from the police saying, your child is in the hospital with a broken collarbone, bruised ribs and lacerations, or a broken arm, which are in fact things that would have occurred in this jurisdiction within recent times. As a parent, what would you do? And if we just allow it to continue, it's the essence of insanity. Doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result. Persons must be held accountable. And by virtue of being over the age of 8, they are no longer what we call in law, doli incapax. They are persons who could be held accountable for their actions. No one says that the first and foremost action of the TTPS would be to lock them up. There would be other treatments. We could have the school counselors. We can have the social welfare departments come in and we can have NGOs, we can have churches, we can have sporting groups. We could even have Mr. Richard Raghubasin come and give some speeches and lectures at schools. But at the end of the day, when all else fails, there's only one option left. If the child is not a person who is willing to become a productive member of society and is intent on bullying, then we would want to ensure that the children who are there for the purpose of gaining an education are allowed to do so in a safe environment. All right?
I have one last question, Commissioner. What's your relationship like with the Minister of Homeland Security, former police officer, Mr. Roger Alexander?
Mr. Alexander and myself worked at the same time, coming up through the ranks in the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service. My first set of real interactions with him would have been when he was co-hosting the Beyond the Tape program, and we engaged in exercises and operations that were successful, and they asked that it be featured on the Beyond the Tape program, he would come and interview the particular officer or officers and take the video footage. And we developed a very cordial relationship, as you would with any one of your colleagues and co-workers. Since assuming office, he has been very supportive of the initiatives and strategies that I have been rolling out. He was actually present at the airport and spoke about the initiative of having the PIA, Piarco International Airport, as a safe space. So I look forward to great things.
Okay. Well, I suppose we speak for all citizens when we say we hope you are very successful in your position, because your success is our success.
Yes.
So thank you so much, Commissioner Guevarro, for speaking with us this morning. We appreciate it.
And please don't be a stranger.
Yeah. Of course, you know we're going to harass you to come back 1 or 2 times again. Right?
Well, the fact that you have always responded to us, Commissioner, thank you very much.
There's no reason to hide. I'm transparent. My hands are clean. And even though I heard the keyboard warrior say he do like Pontius Pilate and he push out his hands and washed it, my hands are clean.
And your
this
hands.
year, look, I get Richard to smile again. I get Richard to smile again.
I'll put that in a play.
There's one thing I am positive, and I always tell the persons who work with me, there's one thing that people cannot take from you. They could take your life, they could take your vehicle, they could take your car, they could take your house. They cannot take your integrity. You must give it to them. So I want that to be my parting words to your international, regional, and even local viewers.
Thank you very much, Commissioner.
All right. Gentlemen, thank you all so much for having me. Thank you for allowing me the opportunity to showcase the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service. And I'm pleading, we need your information to make Trinidad and Tobago safe. We cannot do it alone. We must partner with the public. So that is my stirring key. And if one takeaway comes from that, we want community partnership. Thank you very much, gentlemen.
Thank you, Commissioner. Take care. All right. Of course, that was Commissioner of Police Allister Guevarro, who confirmed to us he has 11 years left in the service, Richard. That's a long time. You understand?
Yeah.
Well, that's a long time. And for the messengers who corrected me with Gary Griffith not being the first person who came to the ranks, thanks for that. You're right. You're right. Mr. Dwayne Gibbs didn't come to the ranks either of the TTPS. Thank you very much for that correction. All right.
Yeah.
So we'll do 7 o'clock news, and when we come back, we'll engage you all, and we will try to go through some of the messages on the chat because there were several. All right. Thanks.
News is next.
The news you need, the clarity you deserve. Local, regional, global. This is Net Radio News Now.
This is your news update for Wednesday, July 2nd, 2025. I am Amanda Mitchell with New Era TT Radio and M&E TV. Former Prime Minister Stuart Young will not receive a $1 million pension for life after the Senate passed the Prime Minister's Pension Amendment Bill 2025 with support from 5 independent senators. The bill introduces a tiered structure requiring at least 1 year of service before pension eligibility. Young served for just 6 weeks, from March 17th to April 28th. Independent Senator Courtney McNish strongly backed the bill, saying Young did not deserve it and warned that public backlash risked disturbing national peace. Senior Counsel Senator Michael de la Bastide called the idea of awarding $87,000 a month to someone who served 30 days startling and disturbing, arguing it would be funded by citizens struggling to make ends meet. The bill passed with a 3/5 majority, leaving Young with only one option, a constitutional challenge in court. India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi will receive the Order of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago, the nation's highest award, during his historic 2-day visit from July 3rd to 4th. This marks a major diplomatic milestone between the two countries, which established ties in 1962. Modi will arrive Thursday morning to full ceremonial honours at Piarco International Airport, followed by a cultural event at the cycling velodrome with over 4,000 attendees. On Friday, he will address both houses of Parliament, meet with President Christine Kangaloo, and engage in bilateral talks with Prime Minister Prasad Bisesar and her cabinet. A state dinner is also planned, and there are reports Modi may visit a Hindu temple for a Moorti consecration ceremony. Caribbean Airlines has resumed late-night domestic flights between Trinidad and Tobago, effective yesterday, bringing much relief to residents and businesses. The daily flight leaves Trinidad at 11:30 p.m. and returns from Tobago at 12:30 a.m. The Tobago People's Party, led by Chief Secretary Farley Augustine, praised the swift action taken by central government just days after their formal request. Business leaders hailed it as a boost for tourism and commerce, with the Tobago Chamber urging that the flights be made permanent. The late-night flights were discontinued in 2020 due to the pandemic, and their return signals renewed inter-island connectivity and broader economic opportunity for Tobago. Energy Minister Dr. Rudal Munilal has fired back at St. Vincent, and the Grenadines Prime Minister Dr. Ralph Gonsalves, who recently likened Trinidad and Tobago's currency to monopoly money. Speaking at a Society of Petroleum Engineers symposium, Munilal called Gonsalves' comments unfair and misdirected, saying the foreign exchange issues stem from economic mismanagement by the previous administration. The row stems from Gonsalves' speech at the 77th OECS Authority meeting, where he said Vincentian exporters are being paid in TT dollars they can't use, describing it as absolutely unfair. Munilal acknowledged the closure of Petrotrin contributed to foreign exchange challenges, but said plans to restart the refinery will be announced soon. After serving 20 years behind bars, Karen Joseph, also known as Atiba Carr, has been released from prison for the 2002 murder of police constable Kieran Park. Joseph, who was just 16 years old at the time of the killing, was convicted in 2005 and sentenced to be detained at the court's pleasure with a minimum 20-year term. At a review hearing on June 30th, Justice Indrani Shedano ordered his release, citing strong rehabilitation progress and no objection from the state. During his incarceration, Joseph completed educational and vocational training, including anger management, drug rehabilitation, and graphic design, and expressed deep remorse for his actions. Joseph is now 37 years old and has family support and job prospects as he begins a new chapter of life. You are listening to News on New Era TT Radio. In international news, Europe is in the grip of a historic heat wave, with Spain and England recording their hottest June ever. Spain averaged 23.6 degrees Celsius last month, surpassing July and August norms, while England hit 16.9 degrees, setting a new national record. Portugal reported a June daily high of 46.6 degrees. And in France, red alerts forced nearly 2,000 schools to close, with Paris Orly Airport recording 37.6 degrees. In Turkey, over 50,000 people were evacuated as wildfires raged in Izmir and other regions. Italy and Greece also faced scorching temperatures and fires, with hospital admissions rising and work restrictions imposed. Germany, the Balkans, and other areas saw temperatures soar above 38 degrees, affecting river levels, transport, and agriculture. The UN warns that these climate extremes, fueled by greenhouse gas emissions, are putting human rights and ecosystems at serious risk. That concludes your news update for today. I'm Amanda Mitchell for New Era TT Radio and M&E TV. The Breakfast Show with Wendell, Richard, and Sir Charles continues right after this short break.
That was news now. Stay informed with New Era TT Radio, Net Radio.
Wake up with the Net Radio Breakfast Show. Rise and shine with Wendell Stevens and Richard Raghubarsing, weekdays, from 6 o'clock to 9 a.m. Start your day feeling good, energized, and informed as we tackle the biggest issues of the day, get you where you need to be on time, and keep you in the know about everything that matters. We bring you insightful discussions, expert analysis, and the latest updates so you're always ahead of the curve. Mornings matter. Your voice matters. And it all starts right here on New Era TT Radio, Net Radio. The Net Radio Breakfast Show, weekdays 6 to 9 a.m. Wake up informed, and stay ahead.
This summer, give your child skills of a lifetime with several boot camp. Children between the ages of 5 to 17, come enjoy. Children Iron Chef Company. Your child will learn to prepare healthy breakfast, lunch, dinner, CPR, first aid, and conflict management. With field trip, your child will be given free apron and certification upon completion. Call 492-7397 or 336-4935. Institute of Health and Fitness Company Limited, located at number 79 St. Vincent Street, Tunapuna.
Mornings just got better. You're locked into Net Radio Breakfast Show, fueling your day with the best music and real talk.
Move it, shake your back, line. Move it, yeah. Come let me move it, move it, move it, move it, yeah. Because old age don't catch up with you, so come on, let me take a little jam while we young. Old age don't catch up with you, so come on, let me take a little jam while we young. That lady who in the corner posing, come out of the girl. I see a man come today, a little wine while you're posing. What the shit? Oh, we have no time to waste, we ain't getting any younger. No. So come girl, rock your waist, start to roll that bumper. I'll let we live a little. Life is not promised to no one. I'll let we live a little. Let me get on back in this session. Now what you talk? Push back on it, baby, push back little harder. Show back on it, surely you not getting younger. Oh, so why you have time? How will you start mine? Joe grind. I will body in front and I'm on behind. Because old age don't catch up with you, so come on, let me take a little jam while we young. Old age don't catch up with you, so come on, let me take a little jam while we young. Why every time it's carnival, you was stay in your slumber? Girl, you better lighten up and come roll that thunder. We have no time to waste, we ain't getting any younger. No. So come out and shake a leg before old age meet you. I'll let we live a little. Take a little break from Instagram.
Morning vibes, fresh energy. This is the Net Radio Breakfast Show.
Yeah, take a little jam before old age catch up with you. And after that, you have no more jam to get for the teak. Welcome back to the breakfast show. Yes, we're doing things a little in reverse this morning, but it's good to be here with you. Look out a little later on for the drive time exchange with Tony Fraser. Of course, all you folks on the YouTube feed, remember that is your next engagement, right? Between 4 and 6 p.m. for the drive time exchange. And remember, you can pick us up all throughout the day. We stream at newerattradio.com. As we welcome you back to the breakfast show.
S&H Rumbox, 137 Western Main Road, St. James, for all your retail and wholesale needs for alcohol and non-alcoholic beverages. Call us at 686-0599 or visit us at 137 Western Main Road, St. James. S&H Rumbox, drinking out of the box.
The only question I have for you is how you find your play going so far?
I was gobsmacked, to say the least. Very glad that I came to see it and can't wait for the next stop.
Very nice, lovely, yes. I could do it again.
I think the parade is fantastic, and I actually told my husband tonight that I think this is one of the most hilarious and phenomenal ones yet.
Love that.
So I was dying of laughter, and the plot is creative and fun, so I just think it's awesome.
I find it is it has a twist, and it raises a game changer, right?
Right.
It's a game changer,
like
so it's a plus.
How was the show tonight?
Oh, it was fantastic. We got fabulous actors.
Yes, we do.
It was a fabulous night. My husband laughed very loud. It was exciting.
It was excellent. I must say it was a refreshing look at the real life aspect of a marriage. I find it was excellently portrayed, I must say.
It was really exciting. I laughed a lot. And the story was really, really good. The principles, that they talk about and share with us, it was really good to see they put that in humor, with humor.
Have
Have you heard? The hilarious adult comedy Married and Mischievous is coming to an end. No. Where are the last shows? I'll tell you. Port of Spain. Final 2 shows at Queen's Hall on Friday, July 4th and Saturday, July 5th at 8:30 p.m. And our absolutely last show is on Sunday, July 6th in Sapa, San Fernando. Tickets available in all usual outlets in North and South. Don't miss the comedy that everybody is raving about. Check RSRR Productions Theatre on social media. And remember, strictly adults only. It's a bacchanal.
Yes, it certainly is a bacchanal. I can tell you that. Married and Mischievous, our first of our closing shows is on Friday night at 8:30 p.m. at Queen's Hall. Then on Saturday at 8:30 p.m. at Queen's Hall. And then Sunday, our last show will be at Sapa in San Fernando at 6:30 p.m. Tickets are available at all our outlets. You can get them at Electronics in Arima, at Jabili Rawe in Tinapuna, and Tony's Florals in Valpark Shopping Plaza, Chanfler Auto Services, of course, K Squared Fashions outlets at West Mall, East Gates, and at Brentwood Mall in Chaguanas. The Brentwood Mall in Chaguanas branch, of course, services both the North shows and the South shows. The South show, I shouldn't say shows. And of course, in South, you can get tickets at C3 Center, the K Squared Fashion there, and of course, Friends of Marabella by the Roundabout, and at the Sapa box office, which is open 12 noon to 6 p.m. daily. Of course, the Queen's Hall box office is open from 11 a.m. to 6 p.m. daily. Get your tickets early. I mean, this play has been phenomenal. You can see the comments. If you go to the RSRR Productions page, you could see all of the comments from people who have come to this play. Some people have seen the play multiple times already. It is that good. Trust me on it. You will not regret it. I could take a bet with you. I could take a pinky bet with you. You will not regret it. So, don't miss Married and Mischievous on this weekend. You can also purchase tickets online. You can check RSRR Productions Theatre on all social media handles, Instagram, TikTok, and of course, Facebook, for more information on how to purchase your tickets online. So we are back in the second hour of the breakfast show. And of course, we were a little topsy-turvy today because we had the commissioner, and of course, according to his schedule, we would have liked you to have taken some calls with him, but of course, he had another engagement. But you know, it was our first interfacing with him. We don't know him at all. And we know plenty of people between the three of us on this show, but neither of us, but not either, because three. So none of the three of us had any interfacing with him before this program this morning. I mean, we were speaking to him to get him to come on the program, but he was always very, engaging. He
accommodating, yes.
Yeah, he was always responsive.
He is. And thanks also to Ms. Joanne Archie from Corporate Communications of the TTPS for also assisting us in ensuring that the commissioner was on the show. All right. Thanks, Ms. Archie. She might have been the one in the background. They're telling him, hey, next time.
Couple of them guys now, time to go.
But I have to admit, this morning's show went well and it went viral. I haven't seen so many people logged on for a long, long time. So we want to thank you, and thanks for all those. I couldn't focus on my phone, but for all the people who would have been sending me messages on my phone, including former Commissioner Gary Griffith. Morning, Gary. Oh, I have tons of messages from Gary. And of course, Mr. Amjad Ali from Furniture Plus. Thanks for so many of you all for joining up the absolute best show. And of course, not forgetting the people on our chat. We had several new names I saw came up this morning for people who were chatting and certainly posing questions. Some of the questions I would have taken from the chat that I asked. So I hope that you got your answers. We couldn't ask everything, but we're going to have him back. He is 11 years. He said he there for. So we're going to have him back. Trust me. And as I say, he's been most accommodating in terms of the communication that we have had with him thus far. But we are also working on some other big interviews for you people, including the Prime Minister of India, who's coming in tomorrow. We're going to try to get him. If we get him for 5 minutes, we've been working on that diligently on your behalf. Schools are closing half day tomorrow. Tomorrow is also the SCA results coming out. So I don't know how they're doing that, because they also dismissing schools by half day. So I don't know how that's going to work out for children and so on. and all this celebration that they like to do after the results. I don't know what's going to take place there. Because even non-essential government offices also closing up half day. That's all. I think they already made that announcement.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Yes, for the visit of the Indian Prime Minister tomorrow, schools are closing at 11:30, and non-essential government offices, I don't know what that means. What non-essential government offices?
Why are they closing half day though? For what reason?
To get traffic off the road, they said.
They're not taking them down the bus.
No, I don't know what they're doing, Richard. Normally, they would use school children to line the route and so on for visiting heads. So maybe they're not doing that this time.
I don't know. I don't know. I don't know what the diplomatic issues are. Yeah.
I don't know. Non-essential offices leaving at 1 p.m. That's what I know. I saw that somewhere.
Well, he's the Prime Minister of India, so he's a considerable figure on the world stage.
Yes.
I mean, I'm not a great fan of his because I think
a lot of people are not, Richard.
No, some people are. Let's not get it wrong.
Seeing social media is a buzz with anti.
No, my thing is, I always look at your track record, and he's a bit. India has always been a secular democracy, and I think that has suffered under Modi's reign. That part of the secular democracy, which I'm a fan of. Right. But in other areas, yes, he has excelled in terms of raising India's profile, and and the development of India and getting things done. Yeah. But so I get that he's like, I suppose, like all humans, he has a you'd be conflicted about how you see him. But certainly from a secular democracy point of view, I think India has suffered under his reign. But that's just my opinion. It's not for me to decide that. It's for the Indians who vote to decide that in India. Who they want.
A lot of commentary has been coming through in some of the Muslim community. In terms of
that issue of the Muslim minority in India has always been an issue. Yeah. And because he has pandered to a certain degree to Hindu nationalism, hence why secular India has been affected.
Yeah.
In terms of the democracy, that's part of the result of that.
Yeah.
So it's a mixed bag. So I'm sure he's done some good for India. Certainly has raised the profile of India.
Well, India has a
India always had a pretty large international profile.
Yeah.
I mean, under Indira Gandhi, etc., and stuff like that. And the Gandhis who came after Rajiv. I think Rajiv was once Prime Minister.
Rajiv.
And of course, we all know Mahatma Gandhi.
Was his wife also, Sonia Gandhi, also had at one time?
She was once very high up in the party, but I don't know if she was ever Prime Minister. I can't remember. But so I mean, but he is a world leader, and he should be given the respect of that. I know there was a lot of social media commentary on him getting the Order of Trinidad and Tobago.
Yeah, I saw that too. I don't know the specifics of that.
So I don't know that that's not allowed. If you know that, which is kind of like how people were framing it. It should not be allowed or whatever. But
well, it's allowed on nationals and non-nationals who have contributed to the development and progress of Trinidad and Tobago. They're saying that he doesn't qualify on that aspect. But I don't know, and I don't care.
Yeah.
You know?
I kind of lean towards your direction. I don't know. But anyway, these are all things happening. Of course, the pulling of the security detail of Stuart Young, if it's true, I'm not so sure if it's true or not. But that's one of the stories that was trending. That is good.
Yeah, when you raised it, I said, "What is the story about, Richard?"
Yeah. I saw it come across my feed this morning, but as I said, it's unverified. I don't know if it's true. You know, social media can be mischievous. So,
but I read between the lines.
I tried to contextualize it and how is it done.
Right.
Rather
but
than
I kind of read between the lines of what the commissioner was saying, in terms of how who would have probably made that kind of decision.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But that's a pity. That we personalizing too many things now in this country, boy. Oh God. I mean, we've been doing it for a while, but I mean, it's just escalating when you think it should be cooling down.
Well, it kind of. I mean, I don't. Well, we can't talk about it until it's verified. So let's just put that in the room of we don't know.
I'm saying.
But the issue of Sydney, there seems to be an intentional pettiness towards Stuart Young as a former prime minister. I don't care if you're prime minister for a week, you are still a former prime minister. That's how I see it. I see it as position. It doesn't have to be Stuart Young. It could be whoever. If you are a former prime minister, you are a former prime minister.
Yeah. At the end of the day,
argue about the pension issue. That's fine. I understand the tiered version and I understand the logic of all of that. But in terms of the other things that come to you as a former prime minister in a position as a former prime minister, don't belittle somebody who held the post because you don't like them.
Yes.
Or because you feel they hold the post for too long, or you feel they were anointed, XYZ. The reality is he was a former prime minister.
You know, people seem to forget. England changed. The UK changed what? 3 prime ministers? 3 without going to the polls, you know. 3, you know. Including one who served for 43 days or 45 days or something there about Liz Truss. Right?
So prove me wrong. What I'm saying is just prove me wrong that there is no intentional pettiness, but it seems to be that.
Yeah.
That's the kind of color that you're getting from the sequence of events. And stop it.
Yeah.
But I think also, you know, like most of the developed countries, like as you mentioned, England and stuff, they have things in place now. You know, I suppose they would have had to deal with something like this at some point in time. Hence, they have all these things now. So down the road, we may not have that kind of thing happening again, because now that you have certain things in law and guidelines to follow. So, yeah.
Well, all societies go through evolution in terms of tweaking how they deal with stuff, and that's fine. But don't make decisions out of logic and not out of pettiness. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah. All right. So let me just say, well, I mean, I can't possibly go through all these messages today, people, but we just doing a generic thank you to everyone who would have joined us today, and of course some new names I saw coming up, like Ricardo Jeffers, that was a new name. Bernadette Yates. Also, there were some new names. Franklin Bihari, I think, is also a new name. Ambrose Bai is saying, can we fix the volume? It's very low here. Ambrose Bai, it might be the device you listening from. I'm not sure, because Richard is talk loud. So Charles, he speaks clearly too, and I am loud. I know I'm loud.
Well, you should ask if other people are having the problem.
Yeah. Well, only he put it in the chat, and nobody joined him in it since. So it might be because of where he is or the device he's using or something, right? Yeah. And thanks for all the people, as I said, who joined the chat this morning, including some new names called GAS16B11. I don't know what that is. That's a weird name, but you chatted a lot this morning, you know. So thanks so much. Dean, of course, would have put in a lot of messages to some of which we covered in the chat, in the interview with Commissioner Guevarro. All right. So
the Indian Prime Minister arrives. Even the Indian Prime Minister arrives tomorrow, right?
Yes, it's tomorrow.
Right.
And I guess it will be after lunch tomorrow. Why they trying to clear up the place by lunchtime?
And I mean, this is his 3rd term, eh?
Yeah.
So obviously he's loved by a lot of, you know,
and this invitation, the invitation to the Indian Prime Minister probably, I don't know, predated the change of government, you know. Because I don't know that the PNM government expected to be out of office now. It probably, the invitation probably predated that, you know.
I don't know. I have no way of knowing that. But yeah, I mean, he's a considerable world figure. and is very highly respected, in terms of his world stance and how he has promoted in there. So it's good for us too that he's here, because I say it's good for us too as he's here, because it also raises our profile too, and maybe we could get some business done. I suppose that's always what you want to get done too. That's the sideline of all of these visits. The sideline of all of these visits is what is the economic opportunity. And of course, India is a vast market. I think it is the country now with the largest population on earth. I think they have surpassed China.
I think they've gone past China.
So they're the country with the largest population on earth. So that means the largest market on earth. In terms of consumer market. So, us being a country of 1.4 million people, being able to sell whatever we can sell to India and stuff is
the population of India in 2023 is 1.438 billion.
I think it's the largest population on planet Earth.
Hold on, I will tell you now. Because yes, it is. Because the population in China at the same time was 1.411. And India is 1.43.
They are now the largest population on planet Earth. And as I say, he has won 3 terms. So obviously he's loved. He may be disliked by some, but he's loved. Obviously. They like what he's doing. I think the victory this time around though was a little less. They lost some, because of course, the longer you're in office, the more people are going to be tired of you.
Yeah,
which kind of what happened with the PNM.
Oh yes.
It's getting fed up with you after that time.
The PNM get fed up with itself. I never see a party go and lose an election like the way PNM did. Call it 5-6 months too early and lose another election. It's like them get fed up with themselves.
All right, so we can take some calls. 281-1315. Let me pull up the numbers so that people can start calling. And we'll take some of your calls at this point. 281-1315 as we head towards 8 a.m. on this Wednesday morning, midweek already. 281-1315.
All right. We are taking your calls. Of course, you would have, I'm sure that you would have been here for the interview with Commissioner Allister Guevarro. He comes across as a breath of fresh air. So did Mr. Benjamin, I have to admit, but his stint was short-lived. So now Allister Guevarro is here. So,
all right. So let's go. Caller, good morning to you.
Morning, gentlemen. The Simpleton here. You're retired police caller.
You have a real police voice. I have to tell you that.
Hey, you sound like a police.
I don't know how retired you are, but you have a real police voice.
All you have to say caller, is homicide, and we are convinced.
I'm sorry, but I had this voice since I was in Form 1. And I
but go ahead, caller.
Right. I was in and out listening to the interview with the commissioner, right? But I wanted to ask, I didn't know if anybody asked him about the treatment of the internal customers. Was that an issue raised?
Sorry?
The internal customers of the commissioner.
You mean police officers?
Yes, and the category into which I fall, which is retirees. Was that issue raised?
No. We would not raise that issue about retirees.
Okay, because I was trying to gain, and I know he would have gotten a million amount of calls. Perhaps he or his subordinates may be listening. And the question that people like myself have is this, right? So retirees who would have retired in the period of the last salary negotiation settlement would be 4%. We have not all been paid what is owed to us. Because some of us would have had to have had our pensions and gratuitous payments readjusted, right? I wanted to ask the commissioner, we are aware that he has a certain amount budgeted to him every month to take care of these ex gratia payments. And we know that his supplementary amount in the supplemental proceedings last week was 119 million. my question to him would have simply have been whether or not from that an amount would have been set aside to take care of the people such as myself, who, even though we are retired, we are now on fixed salaries, and we would need any little bit that we could get in terms of our circumstances.
But that particular thing that you identify in caller is that payment is made and is to the discretion of the Commissioner of Police.
Well, the Commissioner of Police, Sir Charles, is now the Chief Financial Officer of the Police Service. He's responsible for all. So once he gets the releases from the Ministry of National Security, it is in his or her sole remit to do so.
Okay.
And the last two commissioners have not treated with retirees in a particular way. We are cast aside. The only people treated with retirees in the police service are probably some special reserve police officers. Retirees are really an afterthought.
Wow. All right. Well, thanks very much for the clarity. I just wanted to know, who was directly responsible for it.
And always glad to assist. Like I say, henceforth, you all may refer to me as the simpleton with the authoritative or military voice.
No problem.
We could never refer to you as a simpleton.
Yeah.
No way.
Yeah. Or a retired officer.
We value all our contributors to the show.
Yes.
Yeah, take a next call now, Sir Charles.
I had to wait until they come back in.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All
So
right.
while I wait on the calls to come in, as I get them, I'll let you all know.
Yeah, of course.
It's coming in now.
Yeah. The Prime Minister of India, Narendra Modi, is paying a state visit tomorrow. He's coming in tomorrow. So schools are being dismissed at 11:30 a.m. So I don't know how that will affect the release of the SEA results. And of course, non-essential government offices, I don't know who qualify under that category, can go home from 1 o'clock. So I gather that he probably will be coming in somewhere between 3 and 4, so that they could have time to clear up the traffic. I don't know. But
all right, let's take the call. Caller, good morning to you.
Gentlemen, good morning.
Morning.
First up, I'll say thank you for bringing the commissioner, or getting the commissioner on the show. I think based on what we have heard in past years, he comes across as a breath of fresh air. I wish him all the success, because if he succeeds, we will succeed as a nation. And I do hope that all his efforts will come to fruition in terms of reducing the level of crime in Trinidad and Tobago. Second point, I disagree with the Prime Minister of India being awarded the Order of Trinidad and Tobago. When you look at what it says, it is for distinguished service to Trinidad and Tobago. I stand corrected. I don't know if I haven't seen or heard of his distinguished service to Trinidad and Tobago as that. If I am wrong, I'm wrong. I would like somebody to point it out to me. And finally, the use of the Z word against the Honorable Prime Minister, existing Honorable Prime Minister, who was then opposition leader, will cause someone not to be left not unscathed. So there are repercussions for using the Z word against the Honorable Prime Minister. Have a good day, gentlemen.
I forgot about that and all. I forgot about that.
Okay.
I forgot about that. But you might be right. It might very well be that.
Okay. So I somehow I missed that.
You understand what he said there, Sir Charles?
No, actually, I didn't.
I'll put it in the chat.
Yeah,
I won't say it on it.
please, sir.
But I didn't even remember that.
Okay. Mr. Patrick, good morning.
Yeah, morning, Sir Charles. Morning, Wendell. Morning, Richard. Morning. Yesterday, I was having a conversation with some partners. This CPEP program, contractors submit a proposal to the government to receive a contract, right? Wendell, yes or no?
Sorry, Mr. Patrick, you have to speak up a bit.
I say CPEP contractors, they submit proposal to the government and then they will be hired, right?
I ain't following your question, no.
He's saying if CPEP contractors to get a contract have to put forward a proposal to the government to get the contract.
They don't put forward a proposal. I would imagine they would have an application form. And it's sent in. The
And then
application
they
form would have certain questions on it.
Yeah.
Right. And after that, they hire their own workers, right? They employ their own workers.
Wendell, he
Yeah.
wants to know.
I'm not hearing him properly, you know. You have to forgive me.
Yes, he asked him, and then they employ their own workers.
Yeah.
Yes, they do. Yes, they do, Mr. Patrick.
So therefore, the contractors must be rotated. How much years does get a contract for?
I think 3, sometimes 1. It varies. It varies, Mr. Patrick. Mr. Patrick, you call and ask questions, you know.
No, you see, the issue right now is with CPEP and the 10,000 workers. And people saying they have to re-employ back all the workers. As I asked the person, so if they have a new contractor, the contractor have to rehire the other contractor workers?
No, it doesn't have to. A contractor, I mean, if you get a contract, you can hire who you want the contract.
I don't think it's a point, Mr. Patrick. The point is that 11,000 people roughly are out of jobs. That's the point.
Yes, correct is right. So I asked the guy, so if they decide not to rehire new contractors,
Yeah, it doesn't mean that you would get back your job.
And that's what the problem is.
Unless
and the fella said no, they had to hire them back. I was speaking.
Okay, no problem.
Well, that person is uninformed, obviously. That they will a contractor could hire who they want.
Yeah. That goes without saying.
Good morning to you, caller. All right, my bad, the caller went off.
The same contractors get back their contracts.
Yeah,
the likelihood is that if you are a good worker, you'll get back your job. If you're a bad worker, they might beg you just say, "Mate, you can add one back."
It's a good point.
The contract might be for less employees because they could give you some people would have had a 2-team contract or 3-team contract or 4-team contract. It might be for less. You never know.
Yeah, I get you.
Yeah.
Caller, good morning.
Hi, good morning, Sir Charles. Good morning, Wendell. Good morning, Steve.
Morning, sir.
Richard, I don't know if you could assist me. As a member of the PSA, could I join with other members and file a class action suit against the Public Services Association for joining me into a party? Because I want to know if the PSA, as it stands now, ceases to be a representative body of the members or if they are a political party. And if so, why could I take action for them involving me in a political party without my permission? I want to know if this is possible because I am not a member of the UNC. I never wanted to be a member of the UNC. But the Public Service Association, of which I am a member, is involved with the UNC in the form of a coalition of interest. What redress do I have to correct that? Would I be compensated for being involved in this political party without my permission?
You could pretty much take anything to court, I guess. But if I was a judge adjudicating on a case, I would say, well, you have the right to get rid of the leadership via your voting process, because the decision to align as part of the coalition of interest was made by the leadership of the PSA. The leadership of the PSA is so empowered by being elected by the members of the PSA. So the issue would be, have they done anything that is contra their constitution in terms of the PSA's constitution? And if it is that being the leaders of the PSA gives them the power to align politically, and I want to believe maybe it does, then I don't know how strong your argument would be. I think your strongest weapon would be to not elect that leadership anymore when elections are due.
Okay, caller? Okay, yeah. But I don't, he said that the PSA being part of the coalition, I don't think the PSA of itself is part of the coalition of interests.
Well, I think the PSA, wasn't PSA one of the unions
Yes.
that said that they were aligning with the UNC?
Yes, they were. The head of the PSA, was it the head? I don't know what.
At the point of the elections, and unions globally do that. They would say, okay, we're throwing our support behind X, so we're throwing our support behind Y. So that's why politicians go after unions, because remember, unions control a lot of votes. Well, they like to think they control a lot of votes. Let me put it that way.
They kind of proved that this time, in a way.
Well, I think did they prove it, or did the PNM shoot themselves in their own foot by the attitude that obviously alienated voters from your own base?
Well, it could be a case of both.
So it's unless somebody analyzes and does a kind of detailed sampling and report,
breakdown of figures.
It will all be speculation of what happened. But what we do know for certain is that the PNM lost 102,000 votes roughly.
Right. I think
which translated into 3,000 votes less for every candidate, even if they won.
So the real analysis, I think, in my opinion, has to be done in Point 14 and Labre. Those two seats in particular.
But certainly the unions created a movement that was very anti-PNM.
Yes. The head of the PSA was very vocal.
So which unions are entitled to do? Unions are also political, and they are political in a sense. Part of their raison d'être is to be political, because they're often coming up against employers and or the state if the state employees are part of their fold.
Mm-hmm.
And they're always advocating for legislation, and they also advocate for things like minimum wages and stuff. So they have a political arm, so to speak, that would agitate for those kinds of changes.
Yeah. Which is why Mr. Anizet yesterday too was also condemnatory of the comment of Mr. Elder in terms of describing CPEP work as collateral damage. You know, he didn't agree with that statement at all, and it was kind of unusual coming from somebody like Clyde Elder, who would have championed the cause of working class people.
When we again have Mr. Elder on the program, I did invite him, but he was pretty busy this week together with the visit of the Indian Prime Minister, and he had some constituency business. So I did reach out to him, and he did indicate that this week was difficult. So when we have Mr. Elder on, we can ask him those questions, and he can answer.
Yes.
Hold 1 minute for me there, guys. Caller, good morning. Thanks for holding.
Minister Elder, I should say. Minister.
Yeah. Morning, caller. Go ahead. Go ahead, caller.
Yeah, morning.
Yes, caller. Go ahead.
Yeah, Richard, what about Bernard Julian? I didn't see him in the West Indies 50th anniversary function. What's the status of Bernard Julian?
I think Bernard Julian is quite ill, I stand corrected, I think he would have been suffering from Parkinson's or something.
Helping with aid and all kind of things.
Yeah, I know he hasn't been well.
I was asked, but I didn't get you.
Yeah.
I impressed the commissioner, I impressed the commissioner, and he's very competent. And the man who was acting and all, both of them competent, and when they articulate and everything, I was impressed with this present commissioner.
Yeah.
I wish him all the best.
All right. Well, Mr. Benjamin is still one of his deputies, so hopefully they can work together to help fix this problem that we have in Trinidad. Fix
and
that. Yes.
Bernard Julian is probably about what? Wendell? Bernard Julian is about 80 years old now?
Bernard Julian, I'm not sure, but I know he wasn't well. I haven't heard about him, but I know he wasn't well.
Caller, good morning to you.
Hello.
Yes, caller.
Good morning.
Good morning. Welcome.
Morning.
Yes, I am enjoying your show.
Thank you.
I'm enjoying your show. I just called to say I'm enjoying it. So there's a lot of questions I would like to ask, but as I get through, I just want to compliment you all for the show that is taking place. Every morning I get up and listen to you all.
Where are you calling from, sir?
I am calling from Central.
Central. I appreciate it very much.
I am a pensioner. I'm a pensioner at the Port Authority Pensioners Association.
Ah,
But
okay.
I will talk to you all next time. I'm just enjoying your show.
All right, thanks a lot.
Appreciate it.
It's the first time I'm calling because since with the show before with Conrad, I was also enjoying it. But it's the first time I'm calling you all.
Yeah,
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Richard, you would know him then?
Was this show with Conrad? Who's Conrad?
No, you would know him, that caller. He said he's a pensioner in Port.
I never worked in the port, so I wouldn't know him.
Caller, good morning.
He's an old buddy of yours.
Yes.
Hey, good morning.
I never worked in the port. He might be an old buddy of Mr. Port of Spain. Port of Spain was not a port.
Yeah, you must be a buddy of Port of Spain.
Lincoln, good morning to you.
Good morning, gentlemen. Good morning.
Morning.
You know, I had a lot of questions for the commissioner, but unfortunately, time didn't allow. I hope he comes back. But I will want to echo what one of the last callers said. It was a pleasure listening to him. He was articulate. Unlike former commissioners, recent former commissioner, it was good. He was palatable to listen to, right? I just want to ask the commissioner. I don't know if he will still be listening or what. There's some issues that I heard him mention that I have a peeve with. You want to deal with the people who have FUL applications within the last 6 months because their file more than likely will be up to date. And you are asking the people who have applications inside to check on the applications and update the file. They're saying this like if it's a free process. To get a certificate of character costs. To get a medical or psychological evaluation costs. And we're just talking about the cost of the test, but transportation and all the different costs that it will take. So when you keep doing that and ignoring people's application, letting it expire, and then telling you your file outdated, it is an injustice to the people who have applied already. So,
but who would have said that? The commissioner didn't say that, eh?
Yes, the commissioner said
he didn't say
that
here,
on
but
the
I think
program,
I read that somewhere.
You'll be dealing with the last 6 months of applications.
Okay, all right. I'm not aware of that.
Not on your program, on the Beyond the Tape program, he said that. All right?
All right. Thanks so much, Lincoln.
That is it.
Yeah, take care. I know I'll be listening to the commissioner.
I think the reason that he was saying is that because in any case, some of those things that you would have, like the certificate and the evaluation, it normally lasts 6 months. So you would have had to go and get a new one in any case. You understand? They would not have. If you apply 3 years, 4 years, you can't use those same psychological evaluations and rewards and things.
People will trip off in a day sometimes.
Yeah. I hate to interrupt you all, but it's time for the 8 o'clock news.
The news you need, the clarity you deserve. Local, regional, global. This is Net Radio News Now.
This is your news update for Wednesday, July 2nd, 2025. I am Amanda Mitchell with New Era TT Radio and M&E TV. Former Prime Minister Stuart Young will not receive a $1 million pension for life after the Senate passed the Prime Minister's Pension Amendment Bill 2025 with support from 5 independent senators. The bill introduces a tiered structure requiring at least 1 year of service before pension eligibility. Young served for just 6 weeks, from March 17th to April 28th. Independent Senator Courtney McNish strongly backed the bill, saying Young did not deserve it, and warned that public backlash risked disturbing national peace. Senior Counsel Senator Michael de la Bastide called the idea of awarding $87,000 a month to someone who served 30 days startling and disturbing, arguing it would be funded by citizens struggling to make ends meet. The bill passed with a 3/5 majority, leaving Young with only one option, a constitutional challenge in court. India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi will receive the Order of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago, the nation's highest award, during his historic 2-day visit from July 3rd to 4th. This marks a major diplomatic milestone between the two countries, which established ties in 1962. Modi will arrive Thursday morning to full ceremonial honors at Piarco International Airport, followed by a cultural event at the cycling velodrome with over 4,000 attendees. On Friday, he will address both houses of parliament, meet with President Christine Kangaloo, and engage in bilateral talks with Prime Minister Prasad Bisesar and her cabinet. A state dinner is also planned, and there are reports Modi may visit a Hindu temple for a Moorti consecration ceremony. Caribbean Airlines has resumed late-night domestic flights between Trinidad and Tobago, effective yesterday, bringing much relief to residents and businesses. The daily flight leaves Trinidad at 11:30 p.m. and returns from Tobago at 12:30 a.m. The Tobago People's Party, led by Chief Secretary Farley Augustine, praised the swift action taken by central government just days after their formal request. Business leaders hailed it as a boost for tourism and commerce, with the Tobago Chamber urging that the flights be made permanent. The late-night flights were discontinued in 2020 due to the pandemic, and their return signals renewed inter-island connectivity and broader economic opportunity for Tobago. Energy Minister Dr. Rudal Munilal has fired back at St. Vincent and the Grenadines Prime Minister Dr. Ralph Gonsalves, who recently likened Trinidad and Tobago's currency to monopoly money. Speaking at a Society of Petroleum Engineers symposium, Munilal called Gonsalves' comments unfair and misdirected, saying the foreign exchange issues stem from economic mismanagement by the previous administration. The row stems from Gonsalves' speech at the 77th OECS Authority meeting, where he said Vincentian exporters are being paid in TT dollars they can't use, describing it as absolutely unfair. Munilal acknowledged the closure of Petrotrin contributed to foreign exchange challenges, but said plans to restart the refinery will be announced soon. After serving 20 years behind bars, Karen Joseph, also known as Atibakar, has been released from prison for the 2002 murder of Police Constable Kieran Park. Joseph, who was just 16 years old at the time of the killing, was convicted in 2005 and sentenced to be detained at the court's pleasure with a minimum 20-year term. At a review hearing on June 30th, Justice Indrani Shedano ordered his release, citing strong rehabilitation progress and no objection from the state. During his incarceration, Joseph completed educational and vocational training, including anger management, drug rehabilitation, and graphic design, and expressed deep remorse for his actions. Joseph is now 37 years old and has family support and job prospects as he begins a new chapter of life. You are listening to News on New Era TT Radio. In international news, Europe is in the grip of a historic heat wave, with Spain and England recording their hottest June ever. Spain averaged 23.6 degrees Celsius last month, surpassing July and August norms, while England hit 16.9 degrees, setting a new national record. Portugal reported a June daily high of 46.6 degrees. And in France, red alerts forced nearly 2,000 schools to close, with Paris Orly Airport recording 37.6 degrees. In Turkey, over 50,000 people were evacuated as wildfires raged in Izmir and other regions. Italy and Greece also faced scorching temperatures and fires, with hospital admissions rising and work restrictions imposed. Germany, the Balkans, and other areas saw temperatures soar above 38 degrees, affecting river levels, transport, and agriculture. The UN warns that these climate extremes, fueled by greenhouse gas emissions, are putting human rights and ecosystems at serious risk. That concludes your news update for today. I'm Amanda Mitchell for New Era TT Radio and M&E TV. The Breakfast Show with Wendell, Richard, and Sir Charles continues right after this short break.
That was news now. Stay informed with New Era TT Radio, Net Radio.
S&H Rumbox, 137 Western Main Road, St. James, for all your retail and wholesale needs for alcohol and non-alcoholic beverages. Call us at 686-0599 or visit us at 137 Western Main Road, St. James. S&H Rumbox, drinking out of the box.
The only question I have for you is how you find your play going so far?
I was gobsmacked, to say the least. Very glad that I came to see it and can't wait for the next half.
Very nice, lovely, yes. I could do it again.
I think the play is fantastic, and I actually told my husband tonight that I think this is one of the most hilarious and phenomenal ones yet.
Love that.
So I was dying of laughter, and the plot is creative and fun, so I just think it's awesome.
I find it is it has a twist, and it raises a game changer, right?
Right.
It's a game changer, so it's a plus.
How was the show tonight?
Oh, it was fantastic. We got fabulous actors.
Yes, we do.
It was a fabulous night. My husband laughed very loud. It was exciting.
It was excellent. I must say it was a refreshing look at real life aspect of a marriage. I find it was excellently portrayed, I must say.
It was really exciting. I laughed a lot. And the story was really, really good. The principles, that they talk about and share with us, it was really good to see they put that in humor, with humor.
Have you heard? The hilarious adult comedy Married and Mischievous is coming to an end. Where are the last shows? I'll tell you. Port of Spain. Final 2 shows at Queen's Hall on Friday, July 4th and Saturday, July 5th at 8:30 p.m. And our absolutely last show is on Sunday, July 6th in Sapa, San Fernando. Tickets available in all usual outlets in North and South. Don't miss the comedy that everybody is raving about. Check RSRR Productions Theatre on social media. And remember, strictly adults only. It's a bacchanal.
Yes, of course. So we are back as we get to our ending minutes on the Breakfast Show this morning. Of course, if you're now joining us, you're really late. We would have spoken to Allister. Huh?
I say you miss out if you're now joining us.
Yeah, we have spoken to Allister Guevarro, the Commissioner of Police. So you'd have to go on YouTube and watch the show from the start. That's the beauty of this Breakfast Show. You can rewatch it. You can also rewatch it on M&E TV around 2 or 3 p.m. in the afternoon. They replay the program. So you can also watch it again there. But if you don't want to wait, you can go onto YouTube and watch it there. Of course, even if you're watching us on M&E TV, please like and subscribe our YouTube channel. You can just go to New Era TT Radio on YouTube, and you will find us. Or you can just search for The Breakfast Show Trinidad, and we are the first thing that comes up. And you can subscribe to the channel, New Era TT Radio channel from there. Of course, you can also listen to us on TuneIn. And of course, the program continues after we sign off at around 8:15. You can go to newera.ttradio.com to get the stream live on the internet. Or you can go to TuneIn and search for New Era TT Radio, and you can listen to it on any of your smart devices, or even while you're on your commute, wherever you're heading to in Trinidad and Tobago, or wherever you are on planet Earth. You can get us on TuneIn.
All right. Final call before we wrap, guys. Caller, good morning to you.
Good morning, Sir Charles. Good morning, Richard and Wendell.
Morning.
It looks like I got to watch this program in the night because I trying to call you since that the commissioner left. I just want to say good morning to all locked on. It was a very good show this morning. No wonder all the listeners went up to 600 and something on YouTube. That never happened before. So you know the kind of people they have to bring on the show. So good morning.
That has happened previously. Let me correct you.
Before,
That has happened before. Let me correct you. They went up to 7, 8, 9, almost 1,000 already.
Yes, that's Juni election season. It did.
Oh, come on. Give me a break. Anyhow,
Go back to the channel and check it out.
Know your facts. Don't just talk.
I like you sometimes when it does know the facts. I just want to say it's not only schools closing, offices closing too.
We did say that.
Yeah, we did.
So,
we did say.
So it's going to be real calm today, but Moody accustomed to traffic where you come from. And
it's tomorrow.
It's tomorrow, not today.
Oh, yeah.
Right. I agree with the caller that he has no reason why he should get that award, because he did nothing for Trinidad and Tobago that we know about.
Yeah.
But if it was Stuart Young, you know, they would have found a reason why he shouldn't get it. Yes,
Anyhow.
that do so much for Trinidad and Tobago, including in the increase in oil and gas prices. Good morning again, and bye. Have a good day.
Okay, no problem.
We have to really get Stuart Young on, and I know he was reluctant to speak the last time I interfaced with him. He didn't really want to speak much, but I think it's becoming where he needs to talk just for your own reputational, luster, so to speak, that you need to speak and talk about what you did and what you have achieved. Because I think there's a kind of narrative like that Stuart Young did nothing.
Yeah, he's been posting about it though, you know, Richard.
Yeah, well, he needs to come on the show.
Yeah, you need to come on the show.
Yeah, so reach out to him, Wendell.
I'll do that.
You know,
it always helps when we do a tag team kind of thing. It works. It worked with Commissioner Guevarro.
Hey,
We work on him, you know.
You what the commissioner says certain things you can't say.
Mm-hmm.
Anyhow, we gotta go.
All right, so have a fantastic day, people. Whatever you do, and remember to smile and laugh. It's great for your health.
All right, folks, have an absolutely wonderful day. Remember, one life, live it.
Yeah, and if there is one thing that we can leave you with this morning, married and mischievous on this weekend, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Friday and Saturday at Queen's on Sunday at Sapa, our final shows. I'm going to be so sad. We so enjoyed this show. And of course, audiences are having a fantastic time. This is a show that will make your eye open up. So, what? Have a fantastic, if you haven't seen the show, you need to see it. Have a fantastic day, whatever you do, and we speak to you bright and early tomorrow morning. This has been Wendell,
The Breakfast Show.
That's it.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah, 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 yeah.